Good morning, everyone. I'm Andrea Nenadic, social worker and psychotherapist. For a couple of years, I've been working with patients who suffer from rare diseases, including MPS. And today's webinar will last for about an hour, and the topic is strategies to overcome anxiety and shame when meeting new people. Before we start, I would like to inform you about our new psychological services. You can see them on our website, and please feel free to ask any question or to inform more about services that we are offering. Today's topic, as I said, is connected with meeting new people and two main feelings that shows up when we are doing that. So I will start from describing terms of anxiety and shame. Anxiety is a feeling that is created from excitement. Excitement is a normal and often healthy emotion, but when we don't give ourselves enough support to be excited, then that turns out to be anxiety. When a person regularly feels disproportional level of anxiety, it might become a medical disorder. Anxiety leads to excessive nervousness, fear, apprehension, and worry. I would like to distinguish terms of being anxious and have anxiety disorder. Anxiety disorder is a mental condition that includes a lot of physical symptoms, and the main purpose of anxiety disorder is to make us isolated from other people and other things. So when we feel anxious, it can be not comfortable feeling, but we manage to keep our daily activities. But when we speak about anxiety disorder, that can be really affected to many situations in our lives, and we supposed to visit professionals. When we speak about shame, shame is a feeling that is connected with our whole being. It means that we feel like our whole being is wrong, that we are wrong. And people who experience shame feel worthless, embarrassed, humiliated, and usually or pretty often unclean. And people can experience shame for a number of reasons. Shame is so powerful that can impact the whole trajectory of person's life. When we speak about shame, usually we don't say often, oh, I'm ashamed or I feel embarrassed. Usually we use some different emotion because shame is so deep inside of us and it colors our every cell in our body. So usually we often use that we feel guilty. And guilty is a different emotion that is connected with one certain behavior. For example, I can say, I'm a good person, but I did some bad act. And that's a guilt because it is connected with one certain behavior. When we speak about shame, shame is, as I said, connected with our whole being. I'm not good enough. I'm the wrong, and everything I do, it will be wrong. Nonetheless, shame is actually behind of anxiety, behind of anxiety disorder and social anxiety that we will mention later on. And These disorders alter how a person processes emotions and behavior, and also causing physical symptoms. When we speak about anxiety disorder, it can be mild anxiety that feels like unsettling. But when we speak about severe anxiety, as I said, it can affect our daily life pretty hard. We usually, you can read on some magazines or listen on TV professionals who speaks about anxiety. But as I said, for me personally and a lot of um, other people, shame is something that is core of every medical disorder. When I say medical disorder, I think about psychological disorder. And I would like to stay a bit more on topic of shame and impact of shame. People who live with shame often avoid relationships, vulnerability, and community. And all of those three aspects are important for us as human beings. We need to be loved, we need to be seen, we need to connect with others. And if we want to do all of this, we need to be open and vulnerable. Also, we are human beings and we need to be accepted from the community. And some research shows that shame leads people to hide themselves. And as I said, that's the main thing from shame. If I feel like I'm wrong, like my whole being is wrong, I will want to hide myself, to disappear. And of course, it affects to our relationships and community. People who feel ashamed hide from community and friendship. They avoid vulnerability and never share their true, authentic being. People who live with shame are prone to suppressing their emotions. And as I said, shame is associated with suppression of emotions. People who feel ashamed of who they are usually keeps their thoughts, feelings wrapped up inside. And when we have that kind of suppressing emotions, and when we have that holding inside feelings, then those feelings has to find a way to go out. And usually it happens through anxiety. Also, people who feel shame except from anxiety, they suffer from depression because they feel worthless. Shame can be a contributing factor in depression, anxiety, low self-esteem. And people who live shame, they have battles every single day. Battles how to be with others, but in the same time, how not to show themselves to others. And here we have really a huge fight. From the other side, from one side, person thinks that she or he is not worth, and that she or he shouldn't appear like that. But on the other hand, we have a really deep human wish for contact. And then it's really hard to connect those two parts and be with other person and in the same time be invisible. That's why we create adaptive mechanisms as anxiety, as depression is, to find a way to better deal with these conditions. And what is common for people who have the shame, they are less likely to take health risks. On way that shame has been conceptualized is a defense against being devaluated by others. And shame keeps people from making decisions that would lead others to devalue them. And sometimes this leads to avoiding healthy risks. People who deal with shame often make decisions about job and relationship, schools, but only when they are 100% sure in that. Someone who feels shame will not jump into risking activities. He or she will not try to find new job from nowhere. It has to be really structured, to take some longer time, and then when they are 100% sure that they will be accepted, then they will be applying, for example, to that job. And people who deal with shame will more likely relapse back into problem behaviors. And research shows that people who struggle with alcoholism are more likely to relapse back into drinking if they experience shame. And when we speak about shame, person who suffer from shame don't think that change is possible. And usually it's not possible that from nowhere we will stop to feel ashamed, but it is possible to give it the right name. As I said, shame is often covered with some different medical, psychological disorders, mental disorders. And it is important if we start to treat depression as condition where you don't have will, where you don't have wish to connect with other, it would be much more useful if we would get to the point why you feel the need to be isolated, why you don't have wish, why you don't have will to move on. And then we would come to this point of shame, because shame is so deep in us and it covers all our parts of body, mind, and emotions. When we speak about shame, I would like to, because our today's topic is strategies to overcome anxiety and shame in meeting new people, we all often speak about social anxiety as something that stops us from making new friendship or meeting new people. And right now I would like to make difference between social anxiety and character and fears, because we have problems to approach to other people. There are times in our life when we get tired, or when we want to watch movie and stay at home and just enjoy in, let's say, evening when we are alone, but that is something that we choose, and this is not social anxiety. The motivation here is not to avoid uncomfortable symptoms that are associated with socializing. This was a decision that we have chosen, and we just respected our desire not to go out. But when we speak about social anxiety, it is uncomfortable feeling that is usually connected with our physical symptoms. And because we have those physical symptoms, we don't want to go out and meet new people. And although social anxiety appears in different ways, the link between each is the feeling of anxiety or panic that is caused by fear of embarrassment, judgment, or rejection by others. It mostly appears when the social situation involves meeting new people. However, it can also exist with people we have known for a long time. And it is common for people who are who have social anxiety to completely avoid social situation. But at the same time, we have people who are trying to deal with that, and against those physical bodily reactions, they go out and socialize while they are just trying to get through it and come back home. And social anxiety really can affect person life on a different level. A lot of people who suffer from severe social anxiety stops with their studying, with job, with connection with other person, and feels isolated and alone. And what is behind of social anxiety? Well, behind of social anxiety is a shame because we are not good enough, plus fear that people won't like us, that we may be boring and uninteresting. We may feel inferior, different, or which it can be trigger for a fear of awkwardness and drive the avoidance and anxiety. And we very often say that we are not good in communication, and that's why we cannot connect with other people, and that's why we are not into visiting some social events. But actually, the most biggest human fear is that we will not be accepted from others. And what we can do when we feel that those feeling of anxiety, depression, actually shame overwhelmed us and we become isolated. That's why today I will mention some of the ways to overcome anxiety and shame. First of all, I would like you to support you to maybe write down on your paper what is your main problem. If you write down my main problem is let's say bodily reaction when I need to leave the house, I would recommend you to pay more on these two words, bodily reactions, and to describe what do you feel and how do you feel when it shows up, plus the other part of sentence, and that is to meet other people. What for you means to meet new people? Because very often when we use this kind of sentence, I feel bodily reactions when I need to meet new people, we don't get concrete answers. But when we say, I feel ashamed because I have the fear that people will think of me that I'm, let's say, boring, then we can discuss more about that. Because why do I think for myself that I'm boring? Did I have in my experience someone who is close to me and he or she thinks that I'm boring? And that's why it's important to really be concrete about what we feel, what are our fears, what are our thoughts, etc. And I will now speak about ways to overcome shame and anxiety. One of the solutions is exposure therapy. That is a common treatment method in cognitive behavioral therapy. The idea is to go step by step and taking small and manageable risks to work towards a goal. For example, if your goal is to be able to go to a bar and comfortably approach man or woman for conversation, then you need to start um, from a point to just literally get dressed into the clothes you would wear out without actually going out. The best starting point is generally where the first bit of resistance or anxiety shows up, which means that we just make steps by steps and we follow ourselves until we don't feel comfortable. If I need 3 times to just get dressed for going out to feel comfortable with that, then I can make another step. And it can be from, for example, to leave my house and just go in front of the club and come back home. And this exposure therapy is connected with exposing, but also with behavior. We'll learn how to do one certain activity until we don't feel comfortable. And this exposure therapy is useful to inform us that nothing bad will happen if we, let's say, get dressed or leave home. Because when we speak about those fears of meeting new people and especially anxiety, we have, in those moments, we have different thoughts that can lead us to fantasies. For example, I don't want to leave a home because, and then people have different fantasies. Everybody will look at me, everybody will laugh at me, or I will be bored or whatever. But it's just important to be aware of thoughts that you have in those moments, because thoughts are something that makes us feel, that makes us have physical reactions. Another solution can be social practice, and social practice is really just a way of learning to talk to people that you don't know. If you find yourself in line at the grocery store, you can try to talk to people in line around you. You can have couple already prepared topics, or you can observe something in environment and bring that as a topic. At first, this will look really scary, but after some while, it can feel you make it can feel you more comfortable. And this strategy is also as a first exposure therapy to show you that nothing awful or catastrophic will not happen, because we all often have catastrophalistic points of view. Except this social practice, you can have conversationalists that can be useful to have with you when you go outside. It's a kind of support system that helps you stay in contact with other people, to help you start a conversation, and it can help you to feel more interested in what other person is speaking. And there is one more solution that I would like to bring, and in my opinion, it can really be important and helpful, and it can have long term, that is therapy, because therapists can help you to identify the roots of the anxiety or the roots of shame, depression, whatever we speak about, but in the same time can offer you emotional support, which is necessary to manage the fears and the resistance that could appear along the way. So I would like to support you to, if you feel just a need to speak with other person, I support you to contact me or to find someone in your environment who is professional and who will be able to give you support, understanding, and find a way to manage your anxiety, shame, depression as better than it's now. When we speak about mental disorders, it is important to evaluate yourself. And you should be in a good position to evaluate your fear of people, if we speak about social anxiety, and whether it might be reflective of an underlying mental health disorders. You can ask yourself different questions in order to realize, do you have mental disorder, and to seek professional help. Some of those questions can be, for how long has your fear of people going on? Does it change or remain constant across situation? How much does your fear of people interfere with your daily life? And have you dropped classes or lost your job because of this fear? And does the fear follow does the fear follow you through your daily life? When we speak about these questions, you can ask yourself, do you consider yourself introvert or extrovert? But while introverts are someone who gather energy by being alone, and extroverts are someone who gain energy from being with other people in a social situation. The both can have social anxiety, and introverts may sometimes be mistaken as being social anxious. If you find that social situations that leave you feeling drained, but it doesn't cause anxiety, it could be that you're you just prefer to have more time for yourself. So I think that this ground is pretty slippery. So I think that if you feel symptoms and if you feel that it affects your daily life, the best thing that you can do for yourself is to visit a professional, and he or she can make you diagnose and give you necessary support. What is pretty common for social situation and social anxiety is that we need to have another person across us in order to have conversation. And then when I speak with you, it becomes experience of us. And at least two people are in conversation. Person across me probably feels the same as I do. We often forget to look at the other person and to listen to her, and we would see that she or he also has some maybe anxiety or fear or avoidance, but because we are so focused on ourselves and on our feeling not to become inadequate or not to show that we are afraid or we want to show ourselves in the best light, we forget that we have across us person who probably feels the same. And one reason that is awkward when we speak with new people is that we overthink what to say or how to act. We kept asking ourselves if we are interesting, funny, or charming. And when we have that light that is focused just on us all the time, we cannot have spontaneous communication and real contact with another person. And this light that we put on us, that light who will show us any thoughts, any how we look, how we behave, what I say, at some moment becomes a burden. And we can reduce this burden by shifting our inner attention to the other person. When the other person talks, it is important to immerse yourself into listening. Because then communication and conversation is driven by curiosity and not by anxiety. And this is really important because if we physically stand across, let's say, new person that we met, we are so focused on ourselves to give the best picture of us. And pretty often we forget what is with person who stands across us. And that then we don't have energy to listen to her. We don't see that person. We just stay in ourselves and thinking what we are doing now and if we are doing good. So what I would suggest is to really be focused to see and listen to another person, because that will help you distract yourself from these overwhelming feelings, but also it will give the other person trust that you are really interested in his or her life. Also, what can be useful when we go out as As we said, that anxiety or this um, nervousness or fear is connected with our thoughts, I suggest you that you distract yourself when you are going out, and you can do that listening. You can do that by listening to the music, watch nature, read book, because the negative thoughts can paralyze you. So we are just trying to avoid mind and thoughts and just follow body. Uh, these negative thoughts send information to our body, then and our body then later have a reaction. But if we manage to occupy our mind with something else and just be focused on our body, it would be much more useful. Um, for example, when you see someone you like, the goal is just to approach that person now at that moment, because if we wait more than couple seconds, we start to feel anxious, because in those couple seconds we have thoughts that are saying, oh, why you are approaching to her or him, look at yourself, you're not good enough, or don't embarrass yourself. But if we manage to turn off those thoughts, our body will instinctively approach the other person. What you can do except this is to also reframe your thoughts. Instead of people will think that I'm weird if I talk to them, you can try to use people will enjoy talking to me. And then that can help you gather the courage to approach new people. And all of these are just strategies that you can use. But at the same time, I would like you to give permission to just take a break when you feel overwhelmed, when you feel that you cannot handle the stress and anxiety. So if you are outside with some people and you start to become anxious or your anxiety comes to some bigger level, I encourage you to take a break and go to the toilet or leave the room, because you are the most important in this situation. And also, this is other topic, but it's connected with this, that there are strategies that helps us on lowering anxiety. And you can use meditation, breathing, yoga, or when you feel extremely, when you're in extremely acute situation of anxiety, you can try to be focused on what is happening here and now. For example, to look around yourself, to pay attention to every detail in that room, to feel some smells or focus on noises. So in those moments, it's important to become aware of reality and to give yourself a realistic feeling that you are in a certain room, that you feel certain smells, that you can hear a certain noise, and then that can help you to bring back yourself into reality and not to feel like you are going to die, or that everything is destroying, etc. Um, what is important for social anxiety is to become aware of your thoughts. If my thought is that if I go outside, no one will like me, we need to work about, we need to work on a scale of probability. How much is probable that I will not be liked from anyone? And this scale of probability is important. We need to remember ourselves of friends that we already have, family members that we have, and that can help us to realize that there is no way that no one will like us. Generalization in this field is something that is also negative thought, and we can work on reducing that by having this probability scale. Also, what can be useful is to have in your head the worst ever scenario. For example, if I go outside and I have stairs and I cannot climb up, everybody will laugh on me. You can try to develop full scenario in your head until the end. For example, this that I mentioned, there are stairs, I cannot climb up, people will laugh. Okay, what is after that? They will laugh and they will tell me that I'm stupid. Okay, what is after that? And do that until the end, until you don't have any idea. And the most probable you will come until you will come until the worst ever scenario, and you will realize that it's not that scary. And whatever everything that I spoke today is connected with strategies, with behavior, with some things that we can learn. But because these are feelings, shame is much deeper inside of us, we really need some professional help if we want long-term success. And that's why, again, I encourage you to seek for help if you feel that you cannot deal with those challenges by yourself. And because we are near the end, I would like to ask you to write some comments, feedback, suggestion on our email that you can find on our website. And I would like you to write some topics that you're interested in. And then we can arrange date for another webinar and different topic. So please feel free to ask, write, or whatever you need. And you can, as I said, you can find our website email address. So I'll be reading your comments. So we will see each other next time when we make appointment. Until the end, goodbye everyone, and see you. Enjoy your weekend.